Hello, welcome. Yeah. What I wanted to do now was I often get asked the question, how do you qualify as a chartered surveyor? So what I thought of doing was to start from first principles. First of all, there are different routes to qualify as a chartered surveyor. Yeah. So the main ones are the following. First of all, you could be a graduate with a degree that is recognized by the MRICS. Yeah, that is called an accredited degree route. Yeah. So that's the first route. The second route is where you've got a bachelor's degree, and in addition to that, you've got some practical experience. And then the third route is where you are working in the industry at the senior level and have got some experience over 10 years. I'll get into that in more detail later. And possibly the final one is where you look at the academic route, where you are possibly someone who is in the academic institution as possibly a lecturer or an equivalent. So that's another route to qualification as a chartered surveyor. Now, what I'll do, I'll look at each of the routes one at a time. Let's look at the graduate route. Yeah, the graduate route, first of all, what you need first of all, one way to consider it is to start from the beginning. Let's say you have decided well in advance that you want to pursue a career as a surveyor or as a chartered surveyor. So what you do in this case, if it's actually a planned event, what you do is you would enroll in a degree that is accredited by the MRICS. Yeah? And once you complete that degree, and most of these degrees are usually for a period of 3 years full-time, or 4 years if you're doing it as a sandwich degree course where you have to spend a year in industry. Yeah? So once you've completed that, what you need to do is to get some additional practical experience. Yeah? And usually it's for a period of a year or 2 years before you can sit for the final assessment. And the final assessment is called the Assessment of Professional Competence, where you are interviewed by a panel of 3 chartered surveyors. Yeah? What they are doing is assessing to check on the level of competence that you've achieved, or to confirm your level of competence and to confirm that you're fit to face the public as a chartered surveyor. Yeah. And once you've done that, you're enrolled as a chartered surveyor. So that's one route to qualification. The second route is where you possibly do not have a degree that is recognized by the MRICS as an accredited degree. In which case, what you need to do is to have at least 5 years of relevant experience. Yeah? So that relevant experience, it would be in a field of surveying. Yeah? So for example, it could be relevant experience working as, let's say, a quantity surveyor, or a building surveyor, or a mineral surveyor, or any other surveying field. Yeah? So you've got that relevant experience, which is 5 years. And what you need to do after that is to make an application, do what is known as a preliminary review. Yeah? And what happens during this preliminary review? You follow what is required and the pathway that you want to enroll under. So for example, if you wanted to be a quantity surveyor, you would follow the quantity surveying route, look at what each competency requires, and then fill in this application form. And this application form includes a summary of experience which is categorized in the pathway that you are applying for. And once you fill that in, you submit it for a preliminary review. Yeah? And during that preliminary review, 2 things can happen. The first thing that can happen, you can be approved to go for the final assessment. And another thing that might happen, you might be advised that your submission does not meet the requirements, in which case what you need to do is to address some shortfalls within that submission and resubmit. So those are the two things that you can be told to do after the preliminary review. When that is done, when you've gone through the preliminary review, you need to sit for the assessment of professional competence, which is a one-hour interview, similar to the graduate route. So that's another way of qualifying as a chartered surveyor. So we've talked about two routes. One is the graduate route, where you have designed in advance to say that you want to be a chartered surveyor, in which case you go through an accredited degree. Once you've done that, you move on to becoming a chartered surveyor after attending the assessment of professional competence. And the second route that we've just discussed is the preliminary review route, which is based on you having at least 5 years relevant experience, and then you make a preliminary submission that is reviewed by a panel, and once it's reviewed, you're told whether to proceed or to address some deficiencies, and once you go through that, you go on to proceed to the final assessment that allows you to qualify as a chartered surveyor. Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll take a short break and I'll come back to talk about the other routes to qualification as a chartered surveyor. My name is Knight Konje. Thank you for listening. Thank you.